A woman calls the police. She says a man attacked her son, a young boy, right in the street. Officers arrive. They find the boy, dazed, bleeding, naked, and they find the attacker too, calm, sober, standing right there. The officers hand the boy back to his attacker. They believe it's a domestic dispute between two adults. They walk away. Weeks later, that same boy is found dead, dismembered, in the attacker's apartment. The attacker's name is Jeffrey Dahmer. The year is 1991. And the reason he wasn't stopped that night has nothing to do with bad luck. It has everything to do with which victims police chose to believe. This is the story of how history's most prolific serial killers were never stopped by clever disguises or supernatural cunning. They were stopped late, or not at all, because the systems built to catch them had blind spots. And killers, whether they knew it or not, learned to live inside those blind spots for years. The first blind spot is simple. Some victims are believed immediately, and others are not believed at all. Jeffrey Dahmer killed 17 young men between 1978 and 1991, most of them in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Many of his victims were young, gay, and Black or Asian American, men whose disappearances were, again and again, deprioritized by police in a city where those communities already had deep, justified distrust of law enforcement. That distrust ran both ways. When neighbors called police about a foul smell coming from Dahmer's apartment or strange sounds at night, complaints were logged and set aside. When the mother of one victim, Conorak Synthesamphone, begged officers not to leave her son with the man claiming to be his boyfriend, those officers chose to believe Dahmer, a calm, well-spoken white man, over her. Dahmer wasn't a criminal mastermind. He didn't need to be. He simply understood, consciously or not, that certain victims would not be searched for as urgently, and that his own demeanor would be read as more credible than his victim's terror. He was finally caught in July of 1991, not through detective work, but because one intended victim, Tracy Edwards, managed to escape in handcuffs and flag down a passing patrol car himself. The second blind spot is geography. Serial killers who cross city or county lines can effectively vanish from any single department's radar, because in much of the 20th century, police departments simply did not share information efficiently with each other. Samuel Little confessed, before his death in 2020, to killing 93 women across nearly 40 years and multiple states, the most prolific confirmed serial killer in American history by victim count. He specifically targeted women who were sex workers, addicted to drugs, or otherwise marginalized, correctly betting that many of their deaths would be classified as overdoses or unexplained, rather than homicides, and that no single department would connect a death in Los Angeles to one in Mississippi to one in Ohio. For decades, that bet paid off. Little was arrested more than 100 times for other crimes, yet was rarely connected to the murders happening around him because the FBI's National Violent Crime Database wasn't fully utilized to cross-reference his pattern until very late in his life. It was only after his 2012 arrest and a DNA match to 3 killings that investigators, working with FBI profiler Christy Palazzolo, finally sat down with him and let him talk. And he kept talking case after case for years, closing cold cases across the country, one confession at a time. Both of these blind spots point to the same underlying flaw: investigative systems built around isolated local incidents rather than networked pattern recognition. A missing persons report in one city doesn't automatically compare itself against a missing persons report in another city. A death dismissed as overdose in one county doesn't automatically flag against a similar death 2 counties over. This flaw isn't just about technology. It's about priorities. Cases involving marginalized victims, whether due to race, sexuality, poverty, or addiction, have historically received less investigative resources and less media attention, meaning patterns take far longer to notice, if they're noticed at all. Ted Bundy exploited a version of this same flaw in the 1970s, killing across multiple states, Washington, Utah, Colorado, Florida, while investigators in each state worked largely in isolation. Even though Bundy's charm and articulate demeanor made him seem an unlikely suspect, it was ultimately a shared case linkage system, one of the earliest uses of a national crime database called VICAP, developed partly because of failures like his case that would later help law enforcement do what individual departments alone couldn't: see the whole pattern at once. Once a killer realizes the system isn't watching closely, escalation often follows. Confidence grows. Methods become more efficient, sometimes more brazen. Dahmer moved from occasional isolated killings to a rhythm of roughly one victim a month in his final year, refining his method each time to avoid detection, using drugs to incapacitate victims before ever attempting anything else. Samuel Little grew comfortable enough to target victims in broad daylight in some cases, confident that if a woman living on the margins disappeared, few people would come looking, and even fewer would connect her disappearance to anyone else's. This is the pattern that repeats across nearly every prolific serial killer case in modern history. Escalation isn't driven by a killer becoming smarter. It's driven by a killer correctly calculating that the system watching them isn't smart enough, or resourced enough, or motivated enough to catch up. Across these cases, the actual breakthroughs rarely came from brilliant deduction. They came from small, specific ruptures in the system's blind spot. For Dahmer, it was a victim's own physical escape, forcing an interaction police could no longer explain away. For Little, it was a DNA match combined with the patience of a single FBI analyst willing to sit and listen to an old man talk for hours, cross-referencing his claims against unsolved case files nationwide. For Bundy, it was a police officer performing a routine traffic stop, noticing suspicious items in his car that didn't fit an innocent explanation. In nearly every major serial killer case in modern history, the moment of capture came down to one small technical or human failure on the killer's part, colliding with one moment where the system actually functioned as it was supposed to: a database check, a background check, a piece of forensic evidence properly logged and compared. These killers weren't caught because they were finally outsmarted. They were caught because, for one crucial moment, the blind spot closed.